I'm going to do Leetcode 3110, score of a string. I'm going to use Java. So we're given a string, for example, hello, sequence of characters, and we're asked to compute this score. This score is basically you're going to take adjacent elements and you're going to take their code point, which is the integer representation of the character. For example, letter A is 97. So you're going to take that and then take the character next to it, for example, H and E, and given their code point integers, you're going to subtract and take the absolute value. Remember, absolute value is just subtraction. If it's negative, you just flip the sign to positive. For example, here, the H is 104, the E is 101. So 104 minus 101 is going to be 3. An absolute value of a positive number is itself. There's no need to change the sign. However, if you go to E and L, you notice that the E is 101 and then minus 108, this one here. So that's going to be -7, which is, a negative number. So the absolute sign should flip the negative to positive. Okay, so to do this problem is very simple. We can do, if you know how to traverse an array with a loop, and then how to keep track of a sum, because it's basically a running sum problem. You're going to take this score and going to add to a running sum in every iteration. And notice because we're doing kind of adjacent elements, we can do like pairs. We can do the first and the second and the third and the fourth, and then the fourth and the fifth in this case. Remember, the loop, usually we iterate over each character, but because we're doing this comparison with one of the next, we got to make sure to not go out of bounds. So the loop is going to end actually at the length of the array minus 1, the less than that, okay? So let's go here. So I'm going to use Java, like I said. First, I'm going to make a variable integer, call it score, initialize to 0. And then this function here returns that very score. So I'm just going to put return score right there right away. And then in between, we're going to traverse and compute and add to the existing running score, like a running sum. So I'm going to use like a traditional for loop. First part is the initializer, I, variable int of value 0. And as long as that is less than, remember the length of the string, minus 1, right? It's not just length because I'm comparing side by side adjacent ones. And because we're doing Java, we have a string variable s. I have to call dot length with the parentheses. It's not a primitive. Then semicolon, and I'm going to increment the I++, so we don't have an infinite loop. So with every iteration, it's a different value for I. So we're going to look at the, let's see. So how do we get the integer value associated with a character? So in many languages, you can just cast a character with the int, and it will give you the value. In Java, you can just take the character at the position, and then you can subtract with another character, and it will give an integer. For example, you can do the s dot. If in this case, char at is the function you want to look. If you're doing other languages, probably the square brackets with the index, and this one is I. So this is going to give me the character at the position I for this string. And if I take that, if you want to cast, that's fine. But in Java, you can just do like this, char at of I plus 1. And that should give you an int that you can put in a variable. Let's call it difference. That's fine too. If you don't like this way, there's another way. You can use char codeAt. I think it's codePointAt in Java, right? codePointAt. That's another way. codePointAt, and that will return the integer associated with that character. So either way works. And we start in the difference. Now, if the difference could be negative or positive, so you could take the absolute value. If you have that function available, you could use that. If you don't want to use the absolute value function, you could just check, okay, if the difference is greater than 0, that means, okay, I have a positive value that I add to the score, right? So I just simply say that the score is now equal to score plus that difference. Some people like simplifying that to the just saying plus equals difference. Else if this difference, if it's negative, that means we got to flip the sign. So basically we just take score, right? And we gonna take minus the difference. Because if difference is negative, the negative times the negative becomes positive. And you can reassign score to that. Again, you can use the minus equals as a shortcut like that. And if you do it that way, by the time you reach the end, you will have the score. So let's see, run. So we got here, forget the -1, right? I talk a lot about that and I forget. See, that's why I told you -1 because it goes out of bounds, checking the one after the last that doesn't exist. Anyway, we got everything accepted that, and I can click submit. And there you go. Now for time complexity here, we're iterating over the array, let's say n elements. So it's going to be O of n. For the space complexity, I don't have any array that's newly created. I'm just using the int score. So that's O of 1. And that's it. Hey, thank you for watching. If you like this content, please consider making a donation so I can keep doing this for you. I'd really appreciate that if you could donate. All right. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one.